Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and that's right. You read the title of which film I'm reviewing, and it just so happens that this year it's celebrating its anniversary. This film, for sure, made film history, and definitely one of the top best movies ever made. And that, of course, being from 1933, the original King Kong. Yes, King Kong. I am finally diving in / reviewing the original / first King Kong film. Again, this movie for sure made film history with, its storytelling, the stop motion, and of course, the mighty beast of all, the eighth wonder of the world, King Kong himself. What a memorable and fantastic film this is. A masterpiece. Perfection. So as always, I'll go ahead and read the description / the story. Actress Anne Darrow, played by Fay Wray, and director Carl Denham, played by Robert Armstrong, travel to the Indian Ocean to do location shoots for Denham's new jungle picture. Along the way, the actress meets and falls for rugged first mate John Driscoll, played by Bruce Cabot. Upon arriving to the mysterious island, Anne is taken hostage by natives who prepare her as a sacrifice to the enormous ape Kong, who rules over their jungle. But when Anne is rescued and Kong is captured, the real trouble begins. Again, this movie, it left a huge impact. It made film history, just everything to it. At the time when this came out, there had never been a movie like King Kong. And yeah, because first off, the stop motion animation in King Kong itself, done by the late legendary stop motion animator Willis O'Brien. I tell you, his craft and what he brought to this film, animating King Kong and all the other dinosaurs and creatures that are on Skull Island, fantastic. And fun fact, because the first fun fact I'll mention is that Willis O'Brien was worried that he might get fired after, seeing the final results of, the film and his animation, because his fingers touching Kong's fur, and again, because he felt that, because of what he did, he'd get fired. But the executives, those who saw Kong, they were just amazed, and they praised Willis O'Brien, I should say, because, of how his fur was lifelike and because of the wind blowing. And that's a nice detail that even Willis O'Brien didn't realize at first. Yeah, and you know what? The same goes for Wes Anderson's Fantastic Mr. Fox, because you'll notice that their fur, it moves too, and because, with the stop-motion animators touching the fur, you see, that's a very nice detail, and it makes perfect sense for the fur of the animals to move and flow because of the wind, stuff like that. You get my point. That is a very nice and important detail when it comes to stop-motion films like that, So yeah, and also another interesting fact is that this film, along with Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and the Rosemary films, they were some of Adolf Hitler's favorite American films. Yeah, I bet some of you didn't know that, and if any of you knew about this interesting fact. But anyways, so with the film itself, because with our main cast of characters, Carl Denham, who is a movie maker, and he's well known for making a lot of jungle pictures, for his next project that he wants to do, because him and a couple of other, people and those who work at the seas, they are aware of this island, and, Carl Denham wants to travel there, and he needs a girl for his picture. And, when he's roaming around Manhattan / New York, he stumbles upon Anne Darrow, again played by the late Fay Wray, who at one point was, grabbing an apple, at a small, supermarket, whatever, those kind of stand, like those places out in the streets, grabbing an apple, and that guy running the place, like, stopped her, but Carl Denham stepped in to, to defend her and so on. And, Carl Denham, I don't know, because in this picture, in this version of King Kong, I should say, he was okay to me. Like, yeah, he's kind of a jerk, and, he's only interested in making his picture and, bit of, like, interest in, of course, wants to make money and so on. But, he's not really a horrible person to the other cast of characters in the film. If you get what I'm saying, and compared to, say, the difference between this Carl Denham and the Carl Denham in Peter Jackson's King Kong, played by Jack Black. And yeah, Carl Denham is interested in casting Ann Darrow in, for her being in his picture. And it doesn't take that long for Carl Denham to convince Ann Darrow to be in his picture, and thus, she joins him in, starring in his picture, and thus, the next day they sail off to the mysterious island, which of course being known as Skull Island. And during that voyage, Ann Darrow, and as I read the description / the story, stumbles upon John / Jack Driscoll. He is called Jack a lot of times in this movie, but, he's also sometimes called John. Like, I don't know. The movie even doesn't establish this on what I'm about to say. Like, is Jack or John his nickname, or John Jack Driscoll? I don't know. If you guys know this, you can let me know in the comments section. And again, Jack Driscoll, played by the late Bruce Cabot. At first, they don't seem to get along at first, and how Jack goes on saying how he doesn't like women and how, they shouldn't be on boats, stuff like that. And also, on the boat, there happens to be a little monkey that's present, and even, like, Anne likes the monkey. But, as the film proceeds, and as, the boat is traveling to the mysterious island, Jack and Anne start to, fall for each other, and things escalate pretty quickly for them, for them to like each other and to fall in love and so on, and that's good. And even, like, now John says that he likes women, And yeah, and also the other characters in the film, there's Captain Engelhorn, I think I'm saying the name right, played by the late Frank Riescher. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his last name right. Again, you know me sometimes. Yeah, and also there's a moment on the boat where Anne, she's got the dress that she's supposed to wear for Carl Denham's movie that he's shooting, and, he's having her, act and for her to react to what she is that she's seeing, different emotions, and up to when, he tells her to scream. That was a pretty good scene right there. So to speed things up a little, when they finally make their way to the mysterious island known as Skull Island, and thus, a mountain is in the shape of a skull. And they first hear drums playing, and thus we see a native village. And when they make their way to the island, well, they see that the natives are doing a ceremony, and basically, it's some ceremony because of the Bride of Kong. Okay, one of the native girls is, apparently supposed to be the Bride of Kong, is, I guess, made to be the Bride of Kong. And it doesn't take too long for the natives and the native chief, played by the late Noble Johnson, they spot, the native chief, I should say, spots them. And, well, it seems like things go pretty well, between the natives and the ship crew, and the fact that the captain can speak their language. And the native chief has his eyes on Anne, and how, as the native chief says, and as the captain translates, that they want Anne as a gift, like something for Kong. But of course, they're not going to allow it, and especially John. And thus, they make their way back to the boat, even when, they said to the natives that they're friends. And, later that evening, because they're all back on the boat, and, more conversations between John and Anne, and how, because at this point, they start to fall for each other, and it doesn't take too long for them to make out. And at one point, John is called in by the captain and Carl, and leaving Anne by herself, and obviously, you knew that this was coming. A couple of natives, they arrive in, canal boats, and they capture Anne. Like, obviously, they're not going to take no for an answer. No. And so they capture Anne, and thus, they have her be a sacrifice, a gift, I guess you can say, to Kong. And the Chinese cook, and because there's a Chinese cookman on the ship. Well, he at one point noticed that, because Anne is not where she was, and a necklace that came from the natives, and he immediately detects that something is up, and obviously Anne is missing, and thus they quickly realize that Anne was captured, and thus they go to rescue her. And the sequence where the natives are, preparing Anne, to be the sacrifice to Kong, and seeing Kong on screen. And by the way, because on the IMDb page of King Kong, because King Kong is credited, and King Kong, the 8th wonder of the world. I love that. That's really cool. Seeing King Kong on the screen, and not to mention, not only is King Kong, in stop motion, but sometimes close-up shots of Kong. They actually built life-size animatronics of Kong, like his hand and his entire head. It's amazing. And again, back then, because nobody had seen anything like this in a movie. So those close-up shots of Kong, and whenever he has somebody in his mouth or in his clutches, just fantastic. Kong, he takes Anne, and that's horrific screams that Anne sometimes gives out in the movie. Just really good. And so, the ship crew, they arrive, and they try to, find and save Anne, but they're too late at this point, even when the natives, they closed the gates. And, they do, make their way through the gates, they open it, and thus they go after, King Kong and to save Anne. Because some of the men that go in deep into the jungle are John and I think Carl Denham. I'm pretty sure I saw Carl Denham, part of the group of men that went into the jungle. And, throughout the jungle, because, a lot of the ship crew encountering dinosaurs from a Stegosaurus, a dinosaur-like water dinosaur creature, whatever, that's, that can swim underwater, and at one point it pops out and, like, attacking them because the crew had built a raft, and, because it attacked them, and, a couple of men did not survive/make it. In fact, none of them did, because, well, after, like, one or two men got, attacked by the dinosaur water creature, because when they do at one point catch up to Kong, well, Kong sits down Anne, like, on a branch, tree branch, I should say, and he starts to, dispose, the ship crew. Like, they're holding on to a log, and he's, like, tilting it and so on, getting them to, like, to let go of the log, and, they fall to their death. And that's when, all of the crew, except for John and Carl Denham, they survive, but, as for the other crew, not really. And that's where, because when the crew fell down to, the bottom pit, there was the infamous deleted scene where they did survive. They were still alive, but not for long, as they encountered another dinosaur creature, but also giant spiders. Like, if anybody knows that infamous deleted scene, and how, like, in later releases of the film, and, like, say, from later DVD releases and, Blu-ray, I should say, the scene was restored, and, fresh new stop-motion animation for the giant spiders, thanks to the one and only Peter Jackson. Good. It's nice that Peter Jackson, did that, and he restored restored it. And just so happens, I think when he did that, it was around the time when he was still working on his own King Kong adaptation. So yeah, pretty cool. And of course, again, yeah, the crew do not make it out of there, and, they get killed/eaten by the giant spiders. That's unfortunate. And King Kong is trying to, snatch John, because he knows that John is alive. And, John avoiding his giant hand and using a knife to stab his hand. And of course, King Kong doesn't succeed on trying to, dispose of John. And again, Carl survived, and John tells Carl to go back to the native village where the other remaining crew members are, and the captain, while John proceeds to find and rescue Anne. And then we come to, one of the memorable moments, because of course, this movie has a lot of memorable moments, and one of them being King Kong versus the T-Rex. Yes, the fight between Kong and the T-Rex, fantastic. And yeah, because with the stop-motion animation, done by Willis O'Brien, how he, did that, the fight between Kong and the T-Rex, fantastic. And, Kong saving Anne from the T-Rex, because yeah, a lot of moments where Kong saves Anne's life. And of course, Kong does defeat/kill the T-Rex. And yeah, that moment where Kong is, moving his, mouth, the T-Rex's mouth, I should say, to see if it's still alive, and, and to see if it is dead. He killed it. And that's just like what Peter Jackson did in his adaptation. A nice detail there, you know what I'm saying? So after that, Kong, he proceeds, back to his, home location on Skull Island while taking Anne with him, still having him in his clutches and so on. And John still proceeding on, catching up to Kong and saving Anne. And up to when, we come to Kong's fortress, I guess you can say. And yet another creature pops out, like a snake-like creature, a giant, snake, on Skull Island, about to attack Anne. But of course, Kong is quick enough to stop the snake and once again save Anne. And yeah, Kong defeating and killing the snake. And also on the mountain/fortress where Kong resides, and on top of the mountain and outside of the mountain, a balcony, I guess you could say, for Kong. And yet another creature attacks Anne, and it's this being another dinosaur, and it's a pterodactyl. Oh my gosh, trying to carry Anne away. But of course, Kong, once again, is quick enough to stop the pterodactyl. And all while Kong is, attacking and stopping / defeating, killing the pterodactyl, John finally shows up, and he rescues Anne. They climb down a rope, going down, and, while Kong is still distracted trying to kill the pterodactyl, and of course he does kill it. And of course Kong notices that Anne disappears, and he can see down below that they're going down the rope, and he pulls the rope, but eventually they let go and they land in the water, and thus they make it out of there. Kong in rage, and obviously he's going to go after them and of course get Anne back. So John and Anne make their way back to the native village, and they meet up / reunite with the captain, the other crew members, and Carl Denham. And at one point, they mentioned that they disposed the natives by shooting off bullets, guns, and it sent them running away and hiding. And well, it doesn't take too long for Kong to show up, and they start by closing the doors, and they ring the gong to get the natives' attention. And basically, yeah, the natives help out the crew members and our main characters to hold the doors closed so Kong doesn't get out. But yeah, sure enough, Kong does break his way through the doors, and yeah, all hell breaks loose. The natives are scattering, and they're all running away from Kong, and he's just, Kong going in rage and just throwing things and grabbing some natives and, just kind of chewing them. Geez, sometimes Kong at times, I mean, aside from, killing, the dinosaurs and creatures that reside on on Skull Island actually, murdering, humans and the natives. Like, oh my gosh. And, sure enough, because, Carl Denham, did point out earlier about, like, these gas bombs, and they could use them to, Kong out, you know what I'm saying? And, yeah, they throw one of the, like, gas bombs, and thus it works, and Kong is knocked out, and, he's unconscious, and he's asleep, and thus Carl Denham captures Kong, and they bring Kong to New York City / Manhattan, and Carl Denham is presenting Kong, it's not a picture, but it's actually something live in person, and for all the people of Manhattan to see, and thus everybody attends it. And it's funny, because some of the people that attended, like, one guy saying, it cost me $20 to get these tickets, and there's this one lady that is not sure, like, how she feels about seeing this picture, like, being up close to it, but somebody working there assures her that it's not a picture. This is live. And thus, Carl Denham stepping out and presenting Kong, and also Anne and John being present, and, Carl introduced them, the witnesses of, encountering Kong, those that were on Skull Island, And sure enough, when the people with, like, cameras and taking flash pictures, they're taking flash pictures of Kong, well, that causes Kong to go on a rage, and, because he's being held by, giant cuffs, he breaks out of them, and yep, all hell breaks loose in Manhattan. The people start to panic. Kong, he gets out of the theater and trying to find Anne, and again, he's like grabbing and sometimes tossing them or munching them. Jeez, Kong. This Kong, like, I tell ya, because he's not a very emotional and, like, the Kong that we're supposed to root for. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, the difference between, like, this Kong and the Kong in the 1976 movie and the Kong from Peter Jackson's adaptation. You get what I'm saying. And sure enough, Kong does eventually find Anne, because Anne and John, they went to the apartment that they were staying at to be safe and sound from Kong. Well, you should have, thought of it carefully, and yeah, you really think that you'd be safe in an apartment building? Nope, because yep, again, sure enough, Kong finds Anne and once again captures Anne, and thus, Kong roaming around Manhattan, and that's when we come to one of the most memorable / infamous moments from the film, King Kong versus the airplanes. Yes. And, yeah, because at one point, I think it was John, he recommended that airplanes should be sent out to take down Kong, and thus, they do so. The planes take off and make their way to where Kong is now, because at this point, Kong, with Anne in his clutches, is now climbing the Empire State Building, and thus the planes making their way, and oh my gosh, like, again, such a memorable moment in the film where Kong is trying to, get the airplanes and just, like, shoes, stuff like that, almost, going to hit them, and, like, some really good shots. Especially, I love that one shot where, we see it from the airplane's point of view, and the camera's jittering, and you just see Kong just like, if you know what I'm talking about, just really good, just nice detail there. And of course, sadly, the planes, they fire upon King Kong, and thus, he's severely wounded, and he's getting killed by the planes. And sure enough, yeah, because he was very gentle with Anne, and, he was protecting her throughout the film, still, he was, in complete rage, and he was basically attacking a lot of people, and so on. Yeah, he sadly falls from the Empire State Building, and thus he's dead on the road / grounds of New York. And thus, John and Anne are once again reunited Everybody is safe and sound, and Carl Denham at the scene where King Kong's body is at, and a policeman mentioning to Carl about, those airplanes that killed Kong, and in response, and Carl Denham getting the last line of the movie, and one of the best lines of the film. And again, literally the last line of the movie, Carl Denham, in response to the policeman, says, "Oh, no, it wasn't the airplanes. It was beauty killed the beast." Just such a great line. And again, for that being the last line of the movie, and boom, that's how the movie ends. And with, the end, what a memorable way for this movie to end. King Kong from 1933, again, this movie made history, and there has never been a movie like the original King Kong. Everything about it is fantastic, from the storytelling, the acting, the creatures, and especially, most notably, King Kong, the eighth wonder of the world himself. Yeah. Just what a fantastic film this is. And, aside from the other King Kong films that would come years later, still, this King Kong film still holds up. And I'm giving the original King Kong 10 out of 10 stars. Yes, 10 out of 10 stars for the original King Kong film from 1933. And one more fun fact I have to mention, because this film itself, and with Willis O'Brien's stop-motion animation, would have a huge influence on a young boy who saw the original King Kong at Grauman's Chinese Theater, and he would sure enough meet his idol, Willis O'Brien, and later on become literally another legendary stop-motion animator, and that being Ray Harryhausen. So what about you guys? What do you think of the original King Kong film from 1933? Is this your favorite King Kong film? And what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. So, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the original / first King Kong film from 1933. More review videos are on the way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review. And stay tuned later tonight, because I'll be reviewing another film that's in stop motion, and this being Aardman's first ever stop motion film. And it's all about chickens. You probably know what I'm talking about. Stay tuned for that. And happy anniversary to the original King Kong. Take care, and peace out.